All systems go. Clear for liftoff. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, back for another edition of the PGA Show here on the SHIPIT Nation YouTube station. Got my guy Hoopster here with me as always. Bring him in here in a minute. He's a little bit worried right now, guys. He's got the sprinkler people coming over. Like, you know how Hoop is with his lawn, so we'll get more on that in a second. But before we get into it, I want to remind everyone very quickly, smash that like on the way in. We do have some big giveaways today to finish out, right? We had these contests over the last couple of weeks. We've got some news on the birthday party. Just 1 week away from 1 year of SHIPIT Nation since launch. But Hoopster, I'll bring you in, man. We got the Wells Fargo Championship, a 69, very nice size field that we've got going here for the Wells Fargo a week before the second major of the season, the PGA Championship. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Wednesdays are the new day here for me. Been on the Wednesday lawn cutting schedule, and that's going to be the norm moving forward. Kind of getting into the feel. You know, wake up in the morning, start going over some PGA stuff, get out there, take care of that lawn, put the picture on Twitter. It's looking nice, man. The extra, the overseeding and the weed and feed is really starting to pay off, and we've had a lot of rain, so it was long. It looks luscious, very thrilled with it. And then my sprinkler guy actually should be here in like 30 minutes. So now we can get some extra water on top of it. So it's a great start to the day. You and I were talking some PGA before we came on. Just made a big change to the core. Like, you know, you and I were talking through it as we were going live, made that big change to the core, and it's highlighted in yellow on the website.
Yeah, Hoopster's going through some stuff. I told you guys, not just the sprinkler guy coming over in the middle of the live show, but he had some stuff, some thoughts with some PGA things. So he's like, I got to make this change right before we hop on. So good news is all of our stuff is up. I think Hoop just has a few exposures to edit there later, but course fit rankings are up. They crushed last week. Shout out to our guy Lee, to big Taylor Pendrith spot up there. Shout out to Nick. He had the Taylor Pendrith receipt again, the ticket, and he says, is the Puma? No, it's Gary Woodland. It's a Gary Woodland hat, $6,100, another Puma guy. So one quick thing, Greg, off the top. It's this new thing in PGA DFS, the world out there. People like playing the lotteries with maximum rake more than they like listener leagues with low to no rake. So quick note on that. There was no listener league for this week. DraftKings is going to bring it back for next week, but just got to fill them up when they come out. That's always the thing. Oh, I love your listener league, and everyone gets so mad when it's not there. Then join it. Max it out when it does come out. It doesn't really, I will say this quickly, not rudely, just to say the facts. It's not really just about supporting SHIPIT Nation or the brand or anything, but it's just part of what we always have talked about. Our guy Degenerate 75 always talks about just contest selection, sustainability. When you can play in a lower rake GPP with a smaller field size, with really good balance structure, with like $500 to first, $50 to 10th, $10, the top 20% or so gets paid, 18 to 20%. Those are really good tournaments to play in. But again, we got to fill it. So if you guys are out there and see it next week, do us a favor. There's going to be a ton of big news that comes down. We talked about it off the top. We'll get to it again, but we are turning one. The SHIPIT Nation launch was May 15th last year. We're coming around to a year. Just funny how those things work. It turns out to be the Wednesday before the second major of the season. So we're going to have our show. We're going to have our guy James on Wednesday night, Degenerate 75, doing his stream, going through the emergency stream. So that's going to be awesome. Tons of giveaways, free rolls, the founding family free roll, big email will be sent out, all of that stuff going on and more. So you're going to want to get in. You go to shipitnation.com, use that code BDAY15. Have to say it again too, though. Get back to it here. If you don't know, now you know. We've talked about it many times. It's the last chance to get 15% off. First of all, the codes will all just revert back to 10% off at all, if anything. And then the prices on the annual and the 6 month. So the two best possible deals are going up. And Rin, throwing core questions, buddy. You know that's on the site, my friend. We'll get it. So just got to make sure you don't give out the goods like that, my friend. Just because you're mad EVR doesn't rate well in the bonus course fit rankings, you can't go giving out the goods like that in the chat, my friend. So Hoopster, anything you want to add? I'm going to get the share screen up, make sure we got everything covered. But obviously a lot going on right now with everything we've got over at the site.
Yeah, I had to get rid of that comment. I mean, you gotta, can't give away the goods for free. I mean, we do a lot of free content. Some of the stuff has to be behind that paywall. And the cores are definitely one thing that will remain there, and it could be more changes. So you got to definitely stay tuned. I'm in limbo. Like when I came onto the show, I felt real good about what my main lineup was going to be, and then now I'm kind of scrambling a little bit. But no, obviously excited for everything. Got the big birthday celebration next week, PGA Championship. That's the 15th, next Wednesday, when we'll have our show. James will be doing a live stream as well. It's going to be an exciting end. We got guys our boy Nick willing to dress up and hop out of birthday cake. So, I mean, there could be some surprises along the way. I mean, don't put anything past us. We're willing to make just about anything happen, but very excited for the 1-year anniversary. We've accomplished, I think, a lot of our goals in the first 12 months. But as we always say, we're not stopping anytime soon. We're going to continue to look to add on and improve our product along the way. And, now it's at the point where we feel like we have that all-encompassing product. When we launched, we had just MLB and PGA. And we told people, like, hey, just give us a try. If you have something else you like, just give us a try. Our prices are cheap enough. Well, our prices are still cheap enough. And we have everything, all the main sports on DraftKings, projections, ownership, core plays, rankings, player pools, slate plans, education. It's the one-stop shop for DFS content at this point, and you can't really convince me otherwise, especially when you factor in the price tag, and that's the commitment we've made to ourselves and our members. It's never going to get to that crazy price point where these other sites are at $500 to $600 per sport, like just absolutely insane. We offer everything, all the main sports on DraftKings. Get in now. It's like $509 and some change, $509 and some change for everything, where other sites $600 per sport. I mean, it's a no-brainer situation.
Yeah, I coined this one, Hoopster. Keep going, keep growing. That's what we're going to keep doing. We got a lot of stuff on the go right now. And so I'll note it quickly, and then we'll get on to Wells Fargo, make it a little faster for you guys. This one, it's clean and clear. We can't be more transparent when it comes to this stuff. The weekly, not changing, but, it's a weekly. You don't get Discord. There's no discounts, whatever. It is what it is. That's all access we're talking about. For the monthly, the only way to get it for less than $60 is use the B-Day 15. When that goes away, it'll be $62. But that's not changing from what we said it would be. That's capped out at the $69. There's nothing crossed out. If anything's extra, that'll be in the future with Shiptimizer, which we'll get to in a second. $389 is what the 6 month is going to from $359. But by far, the biggest one you should be focused on is this one, the annual pass at $599, where again, there's $500 PGA passes out there. There's $200 MMA passes, $450 for NASCAR only, like all this stuff that's out there for $509 with the code. It's going to be over $600 with a 10% off code, which is just going to take $70 off when you go to next week on the 16th. So if you've been on the fence and you want to pay $42 a month for everything that it's encompassed under this, then you're going to want to get in now with B-Day 15. That's kind of the main pitch there. I'll note quickly, nothing's changing on golf, $14, $39, $299. But if you want to get it for $254 and lock it in for life, you got to do it right now with B-Day 15. If you want to lock in the $33, $1 and change per day, you do got to lock it in with B-Day 15. And then last note, and then we'll get to that one, Hoop, is that the Shiptimizer, we launched it last week. It's the optimizer designed to help you ship. I say designed because obviously we start from a skeleton frame, and then we're the ones building it out with the help of the community to get you guys everything possible that we can in there. I got a long list of notes. Hoop and I go through them all. We're going to take those away and just keep adding and prioritizing them. But with PGA, MLB, and NBA, lots of different stuff. We got all the stuff on there. You can hide players, change your exposures, the ownership, the ceiling projections. In the build settings, you can set it up so you can make yourself competitive with a certain number of lineups under how many guys. If you want 2 guys under 10%, you can change that. If you want to change your randomness, you can change that. If you want to blend with the ceiling projections and change your uniques, your salary, your total ownership, all of those things right now are included for free. So at this time, if you sign up for any monthly or more, let me be clear, monthly or more memberships are getting that for free right now. So just to note it there, if you guys are signing up, any monthly or more membership will also get to try out the Shiptimizer. And the reason is it's a true beta test. Only our members are trying it out. We want that feedback from people that are in. A month gives us plenty of time to get after that. Go ahead, Hoop. You were going to talk.
Yeah. Just to be clear on this, from Apone said, Hoop, you got me in at the previous spot, lifetime discount of 15%. That's what this code is. I mean, it sticks with you as long as you don't cancel. So if you go in there, use that Millie 15, it sticks with you month after month, 6-month packages, annual packages. The discount continues with you as long as you don't cancel. So just wanted to clarify on that. And
a lot of first month only. And right now it's Millie 15 is still live. I think we just ended it, but B Day 15 is right on the main page. You can't miss it. That locks in whatever plan you choose. So lock in your best possible deal now and you'll be good to go. All right. How many likes do we have right now? I got something today because our guy Lee had those course fit rankings dialed in. They've been dialed in. I think we'll give away the top 5 in the course fit rankings if we get to a certain number of likes. What's the number now and what do we got to get to? 150?
Let's pull this puppy up. We're going to get one more because I don't even have the stream up. So we're going to go +1 wherever we're at. So we're at 31. We get to 150 by the end of the show. We'll give away the top 5 in the course fit rankings. So make sure you do that. Subscribe to the channel while you're here. Let's go back to this one, Hoop. Let's get into it. Give us your sort of overview here. Let's get into this Wells Fargo. We kept it around 10 minutes. We're good to go. Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Wyndham Clark up top. Oberg did WD, so that changed some things since our conversation on Monday. But give me your thoughts, just overview before we get to this upper range, just on how you're handling it. It's a no cut, 4 full rounds. There's a little bit of weather conversations, which I'll bring up while you're talking, but just give me your first overview for this event. Yeah, always got to shout out the former Millie Maker winners that pop up in our chat, and our girl Alicia's in here saying that we're the best annuals of Smash for Value. I appreciate your support, Alicia. Still one of my favorite interviews of all time when she hopped on after winning the Millie. It's a great story, and love hearing those stories. We had our Millie interview with C. Hearn not too long ago. We did one with Alicia in the past, and phenomenal DFS player and really smart DFS player. So definitely appreciate the support. In terms of this field, obviously got the 69 golfers, no cut event. This is what we're going to see, obviously, for these signature events, and it's a loaded field. Aubert withdrawing, a little bit of a disappointment because you guys know me, and Tambo, you've been on him too, and we talked about on the First Look show. Like, we've been on this guy dating back to the swing season, just all over him. And he hasn't slowed down at all, and super disappointing. Hopefully, it's not a long-term thing. What is it? A back or something? They said, right?
No, he says it's a knee, and it's also he wants to be ready for next week. So I just think we'll see how it actually plays out. But I think he's going to be just fine going into next week.
Yeah, it's kind of weird though. I mean, because he's a young dude, and I mean, there's big bucks here. 69 guys. You'd think he'd want to compete if he could. So I don't know. I kind of lean that maybe it is a little more. Sear, I don't know, who the hell knows, but disappointing that he's out, I guess, needless to say. You got Rory up top, you got Xander, then you have Wyndham Clark. Ludwig withdrawing obviously increases ownership on all these guys up top. We talked about it on the Monday show, and I really thought Wyndham was the guy that kind of had a chance to get squeezed in this range. People are going to play Rory. People are definitely going to play Xander, and people were always going to play Aubert if he was in this. And I thought Wyndham would be the guy that goes a little overlooked. Well, now all these guys, I think, get pretty decent ownership because it's easy to play them together. If you want to go Rory and Wyndham, you're at 6,900, but there's guys in the low sixes. And so you play those two and you plug in, let's just plug in a random $6,100 guy. You're back to $7,200 per spot. So these guys are going to have ownership because there's only 3 of them up here. And there are roster construction paths where you can play multiple. So all 3 of these guys will get ownership. Rory, I kind of talked about it a little bit. It's like, man, no Scotty here. This is a big opportunity for him. Like, I just feel when Rory and Scotty tee it up, Scotty has such a massive advantage. That has to be a mental mind fuck for a guy like Rory. Just second fiddle to Scotty, just dominating these events. Like, this is his opportunity. Does he seize it? I kind of think he does. So, I'm typically not a Rory guy, but I'll be on him this week. Xander at these no-cut events. It is a big boy price for him, 11.5, but tough to overlook. And then Wyndham had the success here last year, 10.5. And with Ludwig out, I think his ownership comes up. So 3 guys above 10, all I think come in with pretty decent ownership.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I talk a little bit about that in the slate plan. Again, all things up over on the site. You guys can check that out, breaking down roster construction and everything with it. But I definitely think lineups start with a guy up top, pretty much all the lineups. But it doesn't seem as many people are going double stud. So we'll get to that more in a second. But just quick note on the weather. Covered that in the slate plan. Our guy Deep Fat's always in the Discord. He's back now from Japan, so he's covering it a little bit as well. But just on Thursday, pretty windy across the board. High gusts across the board. It looks like the rain moved out. We'll see if that actually holds true. But Thursday looks that way. Maybe we can pick up an advantage Friday morning for Showdown. We'll know the guys that are going out first, so we'll be able to see it there. But the way this one sets up with the condensed field, the 2-hour window, Like some start in the middle and then the morning. Like it's not really the same to set up. You could do pockets. I was talking with Mayo about this earlier today. You could do like a pocket build, but it's really such a small field that it's probably just play your guys and move on. If you want to get after it, you guys know I never have a problem with that. But for me, mostly just going to play my guys there and go with that. The other thing is the week before a major. So, some people play on those angles as well. But, Rory, do for a T3 on Sunday just to make us get excited for the PGA Championship or something. So I love that angle as well. And then there was one more thing, too, I wanted to cover. You just made me think of it. I forgot what else it was. But, Wyndham. It almost worked out, though, in some people's favor, at least, if they didn't want to play Wyndham here, because Oberg WDing made it so that Wyndham, remember on Monday we were talking, we weren't sure. We thought he could get squeezed by Oberg up to Rory. Well, now it's definitely going to Wyndham. So it's like that's kind of the point there, is you may still get a spot here where if you don't like Wyndham and you're underweight on him, I'm definitely underweight on him this week. I like Rory Xander better, and then drop it down to Cantlay and below, where you should see him get pushed up just a little bit there. So
Wyndham has to. I mean, you look at it. I mean, just for the most basic reason, like there's $1,000 to go to the guy above him, and it's $700 drop to the next closest guy. There's nobody else in his range. $1,000 to go to the guy above him, and then $700 to drop down. So people will build their teams and like, oh, I have $10,600 left. Who am I going to play? Oh, I can play Wyndham Clark. They're going to feel good with it. They're going to submit it and move on. I mean, just for that reason, whether you like them or not, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, keep an eye on the likes there, Hoop. What are we up to now? I'm going to get these winners out because we got 3 winners that we've been talking about these things. How many likes are we at now?
55.
All right, got to get to 150 to give the top 5 for the Course Fit rankings out this week. But just to note, so the YouTube winner for, if you go on our YouTube station, you're subscribed, and you go under videos, our interview with Chris Hearn, awesome dude, won the Millie Maker at the Masters, hopped on with Hoop and I, did a bit of an interview there. I called it a mint-review. It was a mini interview, breaking all things down. If you liked that video, you went on it, wished him congrats. The winner of that was Check-Please. So the YouTube winner, Check-Please, screenshot your YouTube account, send it to info@shipitnation.com. Let us know you are the winner of a PGA annual membership. So we'll get you set up with that right away. You'll be in this week and beyond through to this time next season. So it works out 12 months that you'll get. And then the two $250 winners, this was if you signed up using code Millie15. We had 1 winner for any plan and then 1 winner for a 6-month or above plan. And the first winner of the 6-month or above plan was Jacob Stalter. 6-month plan. Appreciate you got set up for 6 months all access. You've won back pretty much all your money, close to it, $250 back. So congrats to Jacob Stalter. Reach out to info@shipitnation.com from the address that you have signed up with the site. And then Gregory Stroud is the other winner. He had a month all access. He was the random winner for the other $250. So Gregory Stroud, reach out to info@shipitnation.com with the email you're subscribed to the site with. If not, we'll hit you guys up after. We'll give it a little bit of time, but we'll get you guys set up with that cash. That's going to do it for the giveaways, though, Hoop. Let's keep talking here about roster construction. I was saying it earlier. I see a lot of lineups, to your point, that are starting with one of these guys Clarking up, but I don't really see a lot of people building like a Rory Xander lineup or a Xander Clark lineup. Like, we think Clark's getting boosted up here, and I have a bit of I don't know if it's a hot take as much as I still think Rory ends up being the highest owned. I know it's like we're splitting hairs for 20 to 27 on all of them probably, but I'm just saying I think it's probably that Rory ends up getting it. I know some think it's Xander. I don't think the $300 is enough. I think people just get to Rory, and otherwise they save the money and go to Clark. So do you see many people building a double stud lineup? And if so, I mean, if not, could you see yourself going that route? Because Clark as a second man in would be a lot different than people landing on him as, okay, I guess I can't get up to Rory Xander, so I'll just go to Clark. Him as a second guy into your lineups would be seemingly a different way to go.
Yeah. To hit on your first point, I agree with you. I think Rory comes in higher than Xander. I know a lot of spots are showing Xander higher than Rory, and it's probably going to be a small amount regardless, but I do agree. I think Rory ends up getting more, and I like those builds because for the reason that we talked about previously, where there's such a gap in pricing where Wyndham's at, it's like easy to make it work. And I don't think people will do it because a lot of times, even in no cut events, people will sell them. So, okay, can I go a 6K guy and a 10K guy, or do I just go 2 8K guys? And a lot of people will end up going 2 8K guys. So that's where you don't get those full stars and scrubs builds. But man, I don't mind the Rory Wyndham builds at all. You got 6,900 right around 7,000. If you go, I mean, it's gonna be the same thing if you go Xander and Wyndham. I really like those builds. And again, I agree with you. I don't think people will be looking to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think just one note on that, then we can move on to that second range there. But is to Hoop's point there, when people are going that route, 6,900 left. If you're going that way, it's essentially, if you can pick one of those guys down at the bottom 6 range, you can get into 3 low 7s or something. And while everyone has 3 7K guys in a common build this week, you see that a lot. They're going to have that mid-range to upper 7K range. You're going to have low-owned 7K guys, and who really cares? It's all about just who scores the most fantasy points. So down there's definitely guys that are going to outscore their spot. And so if you can like a guy that's really good, to you, that's good down in the low 6s, I'm trying to say like really low 6K range, you might be able to boost yourself up even more. So our guy Monday's in there, said he's working on the stone now. Rory, the highest with just above Xander. I agree. That's why, to get stuff dialed in. Shout out to Monday and the crew getting that done. I see it that way too. So we'll see how it actually shakes out tomorrow, but there is a lot of sites showing Xander more. We're splitting hairs. It's not like a big difference. It's just to say when people see it that way, the difference is Clark to Xander because it's $1,000. There's not much of a difference when you get to Xander to Rory. And I could see in the higher stakes stuff, to be honest, where you end up seeing Xander get squeezed because people just decide to go Rory or they drop down to Clark, and you could see a bigger gap between what we're talking about here, where that 2.8 now becomes 8.8 or something like that. So I definitely think there's an opportunity to see that. Anything else in that upper range you want to cover, Hoop? If not, you can take us into the 9Ks here.
Yeah, we'll hit the 9Ks, and obviously more question marks start to rise. And actually, we're going to bring back the keeper cut, and there's going to be 2 guys in the 9K range, so be ready because I got 2 that I need the chat's opinion on. Nothing in the 8K.
2 of the 6 guys, 33%.
Yeah. These are the big decisions here for me in this 9K range. I'm very, I don't know, can't make the final decision, but can't lay at 9.8. The results this year have not been great, but did have the T3 last time out. Under 10K, no cut event. Like I'm going to definitely be on Cantlay. I guess we can just hit it now because we have 2 in this range. Fleetwood's going to be the first keeper cut option. I like Fleetwood as a golfer, but this does seem like an inflated price for him at 9,500. Another guy where it's like, what is the true upside? Obviously, he played well at the Masters, Valero Texas Open. Last time out was the 49th. So Tommy Fleetwood's going to be the first. Feel pretty good about Max Homa this week at 94. Another guy, he's similar to Cantlay, where the results they haven't been great. I'd say an overall disappointing season, but I do like Homa here. He has had some success. Morikawa is going to be the second guy, so we'll get to him in a minute, the keeper cut. And then Hovland, I just can't play at this point. I know he's going to be low owned, but he has not been the same guy. And could he turn it around here? Yeah, sure. But I got to see, man. Like, there's so many parts of his game that are in trouble right now. And when that's the case with a guy like, I just got to see it before I can get in. So I'm out on Hovland, and then Theegala. Definitely like Theegala. 9,100. The nice thing about him is when the game's on, he's in contention. And that's what you want. The one concern obviously with him is the ownership always gets a little more inflated. Like, people like to play Theegala, and we see the ownership come up. But I'm fine with it this week. You can just build your teams accordingly. And no one's at a point where you really need to, fade them or anything. A lot of these guys, a lot of the quote unquote popular guys are between like 17 and 20%. Like, you can definitely work with that. It's not like we're talking about 30% owned guys or anything. So a lot of different ways you can go about building rosters, but I feel good with, Cantlay, Homa, Theegala, and then the 2 keeper cut options are going to be Fleetwood and Morikawa. Just not a strong read there on either of those 2 guys.
I already had it up for you. Yeah, that was pretty obvious. It's going to be him. But see what the chat says on Morikawa. But I will say, the funny part about Theegala is people always compare him to Spieth, even myself included. We've seen it where they show up at similar courses. They can spray it a little bit off the tee, but use some of that magic to find their way around, blah, blah, blah. But what's so funny about it is that the other thing, shout out to our guy James, Degenerate75, he always says, play Spieth when no one's playing him. It's starting to turn into, it feels like that with Theegala. play him when no one's playing. I'm like, he's super owned.
But everyone's always playing him, though. He's always owned.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like if you go back,
so then we can never play him.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's been weeks there he have, but like miscut the second 45th. I know what you're talking about that upside that's baked in for when he does show up. But it's like there is that risk of it, I guess is what I'm saying. It's fine to put that in there and know what you've got, but there's when you're paying 9,100, I prefer to do that with a guy like, for example, I think Akshay Bhatia will have similar ownership to Theegala this week for way cheaper, and he's the same boomer bust play, more wins. He's got wins that he throws out there, and it's like that's kind of the angle.
They look very similar.
I'm just using an example. I was saying that if you think about boom bust guys, Homa was another one. Homa's usually boom bust. He's 9,400 though. This is a course he shows up at. He has really good course history, but I'm just saying, like, I just struggle with it, and it almost is funny that Theegala falls in line with Spieth when it comes to that as well, where we joke about like, the same play. It almost feels like when everybody's on them, it's that angle as well. So just my take on that. Let's look at this real quick and see. It looked like
what are your thoughts on Tommy and Morikawa?
Tommy for sure. I was in on Tommy. I was a little lighter on Morikawa, but it seems people want to cut him anyway, so I'm good with that if you have to cut him too. So, good on that. I kind of like the Homa call, and I'm not sure if as many people. It does still seem like Homa's going to get the ownership though, so it just is what it is. But I'd take shots on other guys here in tournaments. It's just more the other. What did our guy Bader Bear say? He says can't play 5 out of 6 of the 9K. Needs to cut someone. I guess need to go. I'm playing Fleetwood. I mean, again, just statements like you can play wherever you want. Like people always act like there's this magic number, like you have to cut everybody. What if I just pick my 5 core guys down low and rotate all those guys up top? I can play every single guy up top and still get leverage. It's like that's kind of the angle of the game here, but it all depends. To each their own. There's not enough guys. There's only 9 guys up top. You could easily play 8 of them and make things work down low. There's tons of guys and tons of punts this week that are real. Someone mentioned it earlier. You have PGA Tour winners down here in bunches that have won recently. So, and quality wins like Nick Taylor. Shout out to my Canadian boy. When we get down to it, 6,200. He won the Waste Management Phoenix Open tournament that Scotty Scheffler's won at, things like that. Like these are guys winning big boy events down here. You've had other guys win Eckroat, Knapp, big boy events previous years. Guys like Kitayama, all this stuff. Glover, multiple wins. Like there's lots of guys. Taylor Moore. All these guys can win, and they're the same as the dudes in the bottom 7K. So you can definitely do a ton of stuff that way. Cody asks, is skipping the 10K up range getting different? It's definitely a good starting point to do it, right? So can go from there and go down. And that's a good point too. Jason says, if you're playing 20 max or 3 max, you're 3 max. I mean, you're obviously not playing. You're not playing
20 max. You can play a lot. I mean, if you're going stars and scrubs, like you can play 3 guys above 9K pretty comfortably. So like you don't have to make as many cuts if you're building more stars and scrubs sort of teams. If you're embracing the 6K range, which we'll get to, which I think there's a lot of playable guys down there. You do as well. So if most of your teams in 20 max are stars and scrubs, you're going to be able to mix and match a lot of guys above 9K. Yeah,
20 you can still get there. And I'll say this for members over on the core report. My highest owned guy, my highest price guy in my core report is less than the average price because I am mixing and matching up top. To me, I love the stuff down low that I'm on. I feel good about it. I know most people go the other way. They say, I'm so unsure about these scrubs. Let me sprinkle all of them. I like to commit to that because I think at a tournament like this, big boy event over the 4 days, even though everybody gets the 4 rounds, I still see these guys being the ones coming out up top. And the key is fantasy points and winners. And again, it's not always the way it is, but usually that 8,800, 8,500 and up range is where you're seeing the consistency and leverage over the 4 rounds versus the spike rounds that Mackenzie Hughes can pop us a couple of them. That is valuable. That's why I'd be in the pool. I'm saying, but like, I want the guys that can put up 3 good rounds, maybe 4, potentially some bonuses, eagles, things like that. So I am sprinkling more at the top and taking my stands down low on a week like this. Go ahead, Hoop.
Yeah, it's a good question. But just naturally thinking through things, it's definitely more viable. The stars and scrubs approach definitely more viable on a no cut event because your 6K guys are automatically getting the 4 rounds unless they withdraw or get hurt or something like that. So you can just take more risks naturally, and I think it's the way to go more times than not. But when it comes to roster construction, people are going to look at some of those 2v2s and say, man, Nick Taylor, and again, I don't know if this is going to work out exactly. I'm just throwing something out. Nick Taylor and give me a 10K guy, Wyndham Clark, or 2 8K guys. Give me Cameron Young and JT. More times than not, people are going to choose Cameron Young and JT. And you can, when you look at those 2v2s, you can throw ownership out the window because then you're just thinking like roster construction at that point. But more times than not, people are going to select the more balanced approach when they're kind of deciding their last 2 roster spots. So when you do say, all right, I'm going to embrace the risk of the 6K guy and go, Taylor and Wyndham Clark over Cameron Young and JT, it's different within that build of those other 4 guys.
Yeah, agreed fully. And one thing about Cameron Young versus Nick Taylor, one of those guys wins, one of those guys doesn't win. So on the PGA Tour. So Mayo had me look that up today. We were going through it. Nick Taylor, 4 PGA Tour wins now, and a couple of them recently, big time, big boy events, are Canadian Open and the Waste Management. So just to note something like that, I think that's kind of the key to look at. Shout out to Deacon. Appreciate you. Yeah, we're all about that. That's what we talk about, the process, trying to actually learn not just the picks and plays of what we're on. It's how are we using these guys? How can you get different angles? I think that's the other thing too about stars and scrubs. When people hear it, they immediately think of like Rory, Wyndham, and 4 6K guys. But there's tons of ways to do it differently. I'll say this. Another thing I put into the slate plan is I do a whole roster construction segment where I list 4 or 5 different options of ways to get different. I believe it was just last week, Hoop, where everybody wanted to play 3 9K guys and then drop down. This week, it seems like nobody wants that build, but you can play. It's a good segue. We're hopping in here. Can't lay down to I guess we just did that, but just to finish out before we segue is Cantlay, Morikawa, and Theegala, whatever. Like Theegala as your 3rd guy in versus a lot of people going Wyndham Theegala starting point, for example. If they're doing that, that would be a different way to go about it. What about a really balanced version of it, like a Homa, Morikawa, Theegala? He becomes your 3rd guy in with 2 9K guys. It's just little things like that where you can set it up a bit differently. And then Cam Young Cam Young wins. He won on the Corn Ferry Tour. It's just, I'm saying he gets close. It's just an argument.
That doesn't count.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something.
You got to win on the big boy stage.
He's been in the mix in majors. I mean, I believe he was tied for the lead on the.
But he doesn't need to win. He doesn't need to win at 8,800.
That's correct as well.
Yeah. Go out there and finish 5th. Take it.
That's the argument. Nick Taylor definitely doesn't need to win at 6,200.
Yeah.
So, but he has won big boy events. So we'll see, or big enough boy events. We'll call it that. But let's move on. Let's go to this 8K range. I think any build that uses 2+, maybe, I mean, obviously 3+, but even 2 8K guys doesn't seem like a super popular build outside of maybe if you go the Decky JT combinations. Those I could see being more popular. Maybe throw in Benny Ann or whatever your choice is. Pick your poison. But it looks like Finau, JT, Hideki, sort of those 3. And then, other guys are getting in there as well. But give us your quick thoughts on this 8K range. Hoop, what do you got in here?
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, I'm not going to go through and talk about every single dude, but like a couple guys that are interesting here, like Siwoo Kim, because it's now a price where he's in there with some, big name guys. Like typically he's in the upper 7s, like in this field, but he's been playing so well. I think he has a chance to get squeezed. Like JT is going to get ownership. People are going to be on Young. People are going to be on Matsuyama. The $8,600 price tag for Siwoo, I think, scares people. And he's typically been a volatile golfer. But man, he's been very consistent and turning out really solid results as of late. 13th, 18th, 30th, 17th, 6th, 30th, 44th, 12th, 14th. He's been very solid, steady all year long. And that's typically what we don't see out of Siwoo. But I do think he has a chance to get squeezed because of the names he's around. And then the other guy in this range that's priced where he's typically not, Norin at 82 for the same reason. He's priced here because he's playing some phenomenal golf, probably the best golf he's played, I don't know, 5-6 years. He's just playing really, really well. Does he have a chance to get squeezed a little bit? So those 2 are the interesting ones to me, Siwoo and Norin. They're in the price range where they're typically not. Finau interests me. Benny An interests me as well. Spieth, I just cannot imagine clicking that name. I mean, cannot imagine doing it. It's like flushing money down the toilet, I'd say this week. JT, I do like. Fitz, Cam Young, Matsuyama. There's a lot of options here in this range, but the 2 that definitely stand out to me because I think they have a chance to go not overlooked, but like a little lower owned than anticipated would be Siwoo and Norin, because I just don't think people are going to want to pay those price tags when they start looking at the guys around them.
Yeah, another guy that fits that mold is Matty Fitzpatrick. 5th, 10th, 22nd, 28th.
Yeah.
Even the team event was an 11th, but I just throw that one out. I'm just saying playing with his brother or whatever. But the point would be before that, still all good results. He's got a 2nd and a 35th here. His own right. You know, the Siwoo course history, not very good. Like someone mentioned, 43rd and 37th. But that run, people keep saying, oh, he's going to go full Siwoo. You got to be careful of that. He's an example, Hoop, of the Thigala thing. Like, what are you wanting out of this guy? 6th, 17th, 18th, 13th, 4 of his last 5. Those are great results at 8,600. So the Cam Young needing to win thing, I agree with everybody saying it. It's same for a guy like Siwoo. These guys don't need to win. The joke was more Cam Young and Nick Taylor are so far apart in pricing, but one guy actually just won this year a couple months ago and has won last year as well, versus Cam Young's a bunch of close calls. It's just shitting on Cam Young like everybody else. You know, have to join in the fun a little bit. But yes, nobody at these price points needs to win. But it does set your lineup apart when you are going with multiple 8K guys who have been just right there. I didn't build like this yet to look at it, but like Fitzpatrick. So JT's popular because he's 8,500. He can really outscore his price tag. He obviously won the PGA Championship here a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, whatever it was. So just looking at it from that perspective, we know he's popular, but we just gave you Fitzpatrick, Siwoo, and Noren, 3 guys playing out of their mind. Mayo really loved Henley today. Just talked about a guy in him. He's got a 12th and a 4th in 2 of his last 3. He's the type of guy that could find his way around here. So there is guys in this 8K range. You talked about Noren playing better golf. Benny Ann's got a 4th and a 16th in 2 of his last 3. Like, these guys can show out. And I think a really balanced build this week will be completely off the board. And the way it works is if the top fails and or the bottom fails, because to make those lineups work up top, you need some of those guys down low. And if a bunch of those guys, do fail and those builds go out the window, you can have like a 5 of 6 not made cut. It's a no cut event, but talking about a 5 of 6 lineup where 5 guys go off and the other guy just comes along for the ride. As long as one is the winner, you could be okay, assuming that takes away from the guys up top and the builds that force to go off the deep end a little bit too much down low. So Finau, JT really fit that scoring mold, but some of the guys, even like a Hideki Matsuyama up top there, they all fit, from those angles. But it's those other guys we mentioned, the Fitz, Siwoos, Norens, and Henleys, that are definitely those that can find their way around here and just hover in that top 10 to 20 and then grind over the weekend and find their way into the top 5. And maybe one of them could pull out a win. Could definitely see some balanced builds like that getting the job done. Also, hasn't Brian Harman, I haven't heard him mentioned once all week, myself included, being part of this, to a 2nd and a 12th, 23rd here last year. Hasn't he been showing up in what we always make fun of him is he's the little big game hunter. He only goes up in the big fields and the strong ones, but he's the little engine that could type thing. We'll talk more on another engine when we get down to 7K flat, but I guess Brian Harman would fit the mold too, and nobody talking about him as many are going into this upper 7K range. So thoughts on Harman, Hoop, and then take us into this upper 7K range. I'm going to pull those likes up right quick.
Yeah, the Harman thing, it's like just can't play everyone. And there's guys I like right around him, above him, below him a little bit more. And, I'll just take my chances that it's not a Brian Harman week. But I do agree with you. If you like him, you're going to get him at a low ownership, probably lower than anticipated. Like it's looking like, 8 to 10-ish range. I'd imagine he's probably closer to like 5% or something this week. So, I guess it's a no-cut event, 69 golf, maybe a little bit more, 5, 6, 7%, but it's going to be low. It'll be very low compared to other guys around him. Yeah, it's painful as fuck to watch him golf. There's no doubt about that. And look at him. His wardrobe usually sucks too. So,
but if you play him, you're good, because the only way you get to watch golf anyway and see golf shots is if someone's in the mix. You barely get to watch golf as is when you're just trying to watch it with how bad the coverage is. So if you're seeing Harman, he's probably doing pretty good. So if you have him in your lineup, you might like him. And then Jason mentioned this. He's all over it today. Shout out to Jason for participating and getting the numbers for us. Good showing here at the year. JT won the PGA Championship, and I see T13 in there. So maybe he could be a guy.
Yeah, 7K range, a lot of guys in this range. At the top, your boy Sungjae, that's a definite pass for me. I do have interest in Zalatoris. Corey Connors stands out. I'll go ahead and throw out the keeper cut. I mean, you don't have any votes on this, just so you know. Like, you're not allowed to vote on this one. It's all the people. It's going to be Adam Scott, keeper cut, Adam Scott. Shit on him a little bit on the Monday show. might be coming around on him a little bit. You did make some convincing points on that Monday show. So I want to see what the people think in regards to Adam Scott at 77, Sam Burns. So he did have the baby 2 weeks. It sounds like 2 weeks ago, it sounds like, but man, I don't think. Actually. Yeah, he did not have the baby. Okay. I don't know. Nowadays, with all the shit going on, you never know. I guess you got to verify.
Caroline Burns.
It's not a guarantee in 2024, unfortunately. But I'm not going to be on Sam Burns. He's been playing bad. Probably getting less sleep. Obviously, getting less sleep with a newborn. I'll pass on Burns. Lowry. Not playing his, but Seabass been playing a lot of Seabass. I think he's a strong option at 76. We already talked about Batia. It's the same thing, man. We've talked about it basically all season with the guy like Batia. When he's playing well, he's in contention and outpacing his price. You see a lot of 11th, 12th, 13th place finishes. Obviously now he has the win upside working in his favor as well. Really like.
Well, we might have lost our guy Hoop there, but the one thing about Batia, while we wait for him to return, I'll just finish it off here. And I see people keeping going here with the keeper cut on Adam Scott. I'll take this time to talk about that too. But Batia is another guy that falls in the Siwoo camp of what we always say is we know he has mega upside, but just breaking it down, people say, yeah, but he's only good when he's in the mix. Well, guess what? 18th, 35th, a win, 11th, 17th. Batia's been in the mix every single week. So yeah, shout out to Nick here. Hoop, good job fake bailing. He's got to, my internet cut out. He can't leave that lawn alone. Oh, had to go out and see the sprinkler guy. That's what's going to happen here. But just to note, Batia is looking like he's going to be popular. So we'll see where that comes in, but it doesn't look like it's going to exceed 15%. So again, if you like him and want to get leverage on him, you can do so. Oh, you made it back. We thought you had bailed for the sprinkler guy, and you're going to.
Sprinkler guy is here. It's funny you say that. Like, I don't know what happened with the internet. Like, disconnected. I got kicked out. I don't know.
Just peeking out the window. He didn't want you. Guys
I was peeking. I was like, all right, I'm going to pull the plug on the internet so I can watch the sprinkler guy work on my sprinkler system.
Yeah. One note on this too, Pam. I'll give you my quick thing because while you were gone, I hit on some stuff. But I play really bad in my home state here, so I don't think it really matters. These guys play good or bad wherever they are. I don't take too many of those narratives into check. But Hoop, I was just noting, I said it's like the Siwoo effect where you think about Batia and say, man, this guy plays good when he plays good. But guess what? He's been playing really good every week. 18th, 35th, a win, 11th, a 17th. He kind of just is playing good. So if you get there, there's going to be ownership. That's fine. But just to note it, I think we know why it's there. That is why he's playing really good golf. So you can get after him either way. Anything else you want to add on him or other guys?
Where did I leave off when I got cut out?
We were doing keeper cut with Adam Scott.
Oh man, that was early on. Yes, maybe the sprinkler guy cut the internet because he wanted me to come out there and share the joy with him of firing that puppy up. Adam Scott, I don't know. I can't really decide on him, but again, you made some good points on the Monday show. So I'm a little more interested. Seabuzz, I do like. We talked about Batia. Harris English, I'm interested in. Denny McCarthy. And then Adam Shank, like I said on the Monday show, most disrespectful price tag in this field at 7,100 could easily be much more expensive in my eyes, playing phenomenally well at 71, 13th, 49th, 12th, 5th, 33rd, 19th at the Players and 12th at the Masters. So he's able to compete in these bigger boy fields. And, that makes me feel even better about him. So really like Shank at 71. And then Tom Kim and Post and 7K flat, I think solid options as well. So a lot of guys here in this range.
What about Cantlay? When you were talking about him earlier, did you like him? I forget.
I'm in on him. I mean, under 10K, 9,800, no cutty bent. Like it's been up or down, obviously all season. I mean, he's had a disappointing season overall, but did have the T3 finish last time out. I'm in on Cantlay.
All right, let's see here. What do we got? I got a text here. It says, I want to give away a month membership, all access. Let me know when and how. So we'll take that one away. We'll get that one on the next show. I'll be in touch and we'll get it there. But Rin is in the mix. I will say this. This is my note, and I'll give this one away because I talked about it on Monday. And just to close it out, the Adam Scott thing is simple to me. He's way less than average price. He doesn't win. Everyone, though, says the same thing. You're going to get a 20th to 30th place. If you like that, take it. What I like about it is every time he comes 20th to 30th, he outscores his finishing position. and does quite well. And if that's what you're telling me he's guaranteed to get, then you're telling me he's almost in the top 20 of guys scoring. If you could make a pool, you're not trying to make again, I get it. And I know everyone's going to come at me for this one too, but just say like, yes, it would be nice. Let's word it this way. It'd be nice to make your pool of the guys that finish 1st to 20th in the golf tournament. It's still a salary-based game. It's a fantasy points game. It's all these factors. So what I'm looking to do is find guys that can outscore regardless of their finishing position. We did this exercise on Monday where certain guys had almost the same points at 30th place as guys that finished 13th. We want the scoring. We want the spike rounds, especially in a no cut. We want all that stuff. So my point would be, if everyone always goes on like he's a guaranteed 20th to 30th, well, what if he outdoes his finishing position for once because he's already outscoring his finishing position? And then what's his price? Oh, it's 7,700. Is there a cut? No. Is it a full field 144, 156 person event? No, it's 69 people. So I'm okay with a guy like him and just getting after it. There's tons of pivots around him that you can go to. I like I like Adam Scott. I like Lowry. I like Connors. I like Zalatoris. I like Jagger. I like a lot of these guys in the 7K range you can get to. And then that bottom 7K range is going to go really overlooked. But Hoopster, anybody else in the bottom 7K? You talked about Shank. I like that. Did you have anything on like McCarthy, Kirky, Tom Kim, any of those guys that I missed? I just was looking through some of those likes and stuff. But anybody else down there?
Yeah, I like the guys down there, Poston, Kim, Kirk. They all kind of stand out. And it will just be when I go to build my teams, it's just going to be, I'm doing one main team. I'm doing 18 teams that I'm putting in everything else. So it just really comes down to how much of these guys I'm going to need in this range in regards to how many of them I play. But I'm good with a lot of guys down here in this lower 7K range. Like I said, I like Shank a lot. Kirk, I'm fine. I'd be fine playing some Kirk, Tom Kim, and Poston. So it's a range where I'll most likely have a lot of exposure to these guys down here.
And if you just want to close your eyes and ignore everything of the names and just look at from an ownership perspective, there's a ton of pivots down here. Pendrith off a win. Sepp Straka, nobody really talking about him. Billy Horschel, nobody really on him. Chris Kirk, maybe Tom Kim even comes in lower owned, even though we like him. I mean, there's options here that you could see. I just don't see enough people getting down to this range, and this is where it really starts to thin out of there's not really many on him. We have almost 90 likes right now. Again, guys, got to get us up to 150. If we get to 120, we'll do it just based on live watching, everything like that. Obviously, a lot of people are going to watch this on replay. So of note, if we get to the 120 likes is the new number while we round out this 6K range, some of the marketing stuff, and get out of here before our guys are up next with the MLB show that you guys will want to tune into if you're playing any MLB DFS. But talk to us about this 6K range hoop. My main point, just to round out the sevens, was the low sevens going extremely overlooked and tons of different builds where you could still land in there with a double stud up top, give up the 8 and 9K range, and then just play a 6K guy and still get low sevens in there that nobody's on and get your leverage that way. Go ahead here in the 6K range, though.
Yeah, I think there's viable options down here for sure. And that's why I'm definitely more okay with stars and scrubs teams. And like, you really just have to ignore the 2v2s. Like we talked about a lot on the show, when you start going, I'm going to use the same example, Wyndham Clark and a 6K guy or 2 8K guys. Don't look at those individual 2v2s when you're starting to build, or if you're building a lot of teams, I guess, like don't kind of ignore that, because if you really start to compare and say, oh, I can get 2 of those 8K guys, I'm just going that route. Like this is going to be a different route, going with the 6K and another spend. Guys I'm good with down here. And by good, I mean, like, I don't want to have mega high exposure to really anyone down here. Like I'm fine spreading it out a little bit more, getting some exposure to multiple guys down here. Like if I like Ricky Fowler, who I might play this week, I don't want like 25% Ricky Fowler. So if I build my teams, I have 25% Ricky Fowler, I'll introduce another 6K guy. I'll bring Keegan into the mix and get a little bit of Keegan and a little bit of Ricky, because there's just a lot of volatility. So I'm fine with like Fowler, Keegan for sure, Kitayama I like, Lucas Glover, Taylor Moore, Mackenzie Hughes I definitely like. We talked about it on the Monday show. He'd been golfing really well last week. He finished 41st, but he had 2 rounds, 64, 2 rounds of 64, a 71 and a 72. Kind of obviously held his week back a little bit because the 71 and the 72 had a birdie fest, but 2 64s. I'm very interested in Mackenzie Hughes. Pavon I play a lot of. Jake Knapp, I haven't played him. I've been napping on nap, but I might wake up for him this week. 6,500, a course where length. You like that?
Just get after it. Let's go.
I figured you'd like that one. But of course,
sleeping on nap, but I might wake up for him this week was the actual. But you got close. Gotcha. So
yeah, close enough. I'm still learning. But I'm in on him at 65 to take a flyer. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to play a shit ton of them, but some exposure I'm good with. Eric Cole, Cam Davis, and then Nick Taylor, just too cheap. So there's a lot of guys down here that I'll likely have exposure to. I'm not going to go crazy with anyone. I'm not going to play anyone at a super high rate, but those are all guys that I think are playable down here at in the 6K range.
Yeah, I'm looking mainly for guys. What about your boy Pavon? I forgot to mention him.
Yeah, I'm playing him for sure. Yeah, definitely on him. He
can be a grinder that comes through for people, and he's only 6,500. So I think more people are leaning to like Jake Knapp there, or Cam Davis, or Griot, or again, nobody's leaning to these guys ownership wise. I'm saying when they're taking their stands. So it's not that, look, when there's a bunch of people to play 0% of these guys, that's what brings it down. I'm saying when most people are saying I'm taking my stands on these 5 guys, the ones that they're giving 10 to 12 to 15% to, even though that's what makes them 3 and 4% owned, it's not that they're owned, it's just where people are more likely to take stands. And that's why, like I said earlier, I'm taking stands down here on 5 or 6 guys and moving on, because I think a lot of the lineups will get wasted when guys down here bust over 4 days. I know you get 4 full rounds, but this is the Wells Fargo Championship. It's not 4 full rounds at the John Deere Classic or something like that, where you're going to get scoring for days. There's going to be tough rounds, harder to have spike rounds, all those factors where people are going to say all the time this week, someone's going to pop down here that's 1% owned. So it's going to be, Matt Kuchar pops off, let's say, for whatever reason. I'm just using a guy at 1%. And then the same conversation is going to be had. Oh, man, I had like 8% match Kuchar, and they're all screwed because I played them with this guy who sucked and those 3 guys that sucked and all this. And then guess what? He doesn't even matter. So that's where I'm willing to take my stands down here a little bit more this week and in the 7s, and then go up top and start mixing and matching those guys I mentioned. Because if you don't love Rory or you don't love Wyndham Clark, some of those guys up top there, you could start mixing in more of the 8s and 9s. That opens it up a little bit more. And without having to leave money on the table, you could still mix in some of those 7K guys and 8K guys that others aren't really on, that we talked earlier about, that are having great seasons and are coming in great form. So I think that's part of it. Yeah, like for sure, Ross. If Kuchar pops, it's like when Malnati won. There was like one guy that won with a 5-6 with Malnati, and then it was after that, no one really had him. It's just one of those things that you see happen. But Ross brought this up too. Some of these dudes, Eckroat, Knapp, Pavon, Murray, Taylor, all guys that have won just this season alone, they can pop. Again, think about some of those courses they've been at, but I definitely think some of them fit the bill there. So that's sort of how I'm looking at it down here. I like Taylor Moore, Lucas Glover, Mackenzie Hughes, Patrick Rogers as maybe one that's a little bit more out there. Talked about Pavon, talked about Nick Taylor. 5 guys. I mean, it sounds like I'm naming them all. That's like the 5 or 6 guys that I'm probably in on. And then from there, it's going to lean away from it. And I'm going to build around roster construction at that point versus trying to make more of these guys fit down low. Hoop, any other thoughts you have before we get to the final round here? Just going through final thoughts and whatnot. We got 95 likes, so it's the last chance to get in. Almost 130 watching live. If you guys are just joining us, take that 2 seconds. Boop, or click, or tap, whatever you need to do.
Ways to do it.
Lots of different ways you can do it. It just takes 2 seconds, and it's free. It's absolutely free to smash that like button. So do us that favor. If you guys can, subscribe to the channel while you're here. Hoop, anything else you have to add? Any final thoughts before we go through some of this other stuff and see if we can get to 120 likes there? If not, we'll save it for next week for the major, and we'll do the same thing there with the Course Fit rankings.
Yeah, not too much more to add. I mean, in regards to the 6K range, I mean, I'm comfortable with some of these guys down here. I mean, I think there's legit, top 10 upside for multiple guys down here in the 6K range. And, that'll definitely impact how I build my teams this week for sure. So definitely it's a strong range this week.
Yeah, and there's other guys. Like, again, people start wanting to know, are these guys in play? How I would play it, how you see it playing out. But again, 4 full days of what could be a grind for some of those days based on what the weather and stuff that we looked at too. So kind of want to make sure you feel good about your guys in that sense. But to Hoop's point, just naming some of those guys, especially in that upper 6K range, having some good seasons, being able to play well, all that stuff, I think is fine. But then really that low to mid 7K range, is another way to go where you could completely skip the 7K range as well. So I don't have anything else there heavy that I want to add, Hoop, but just to note here, a couple things. One, reminder. So next week is our 1-year anniversary. It's our birthday party. We're celebrating. There's going to be a ton of giveaways, free rolls, the big founding family free roll, a lot of stuff going on in the Discord. So you're going to want to get in there before next Wednesday, May 15th, shipitnation.com. Use the code BDAY15. It works on anything. But it's your last chance to lock in 15% off. We won't have 15% off codes. And on top of that, it's the last chance to lock in here. If I pop it back over, just to show you guys, for golf, $33 or $254. It works out to like $1 a day or $5 per event. If you're looking at the all access memberships, and I click over here, $58. So staying under $60 a month for all of the major sports and everything that comes with that. Or the big one is the annual. If you want to get closer to $40 a month, it works out to around $42 a month. $509 is the best value out there. You can get every single sport that we cover, the 8 major sports, projections, ownership, tools, rankings, core reports, player pools, the education courses, all the slate plans, and then getting into the Discord community. That's the biggest factor. We talk about it all the time. That's what everybody talks about. But surrounding yourself with the like-minded individuals, they always say it, but the more you learn, the more you earn. Your network is your net worth. All these sayings are sayings for a reason. Hanging out with the people in there that are at same or better levels than you is helpful, but it's also helpful to be around newer players that are coming in and wanting to learn. I pick up a ton of stuff off people that are just coming in and asking questions, thinking about why would they be asking that? How can I sort of make that into something, a teachable moment, to then put it to a next statement of being able to know, okay, if people are thinking like this, how can we use it to our advantage as a community? And then it's written up in the slate plan where we look at different roster constructions. We start seeing what others are doing. So any final thoughts on the pricing from you, Hoop, before we get out of here?
Best value in the industry. Hands down, no questions asked. It's the best value in the industry, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Get in now. Final chance. SHIPITNation.com. BDAY15. It's your last week to do so. But if you sign up for a month right now, you're going to get a ton of stuff that's going on. But even just in the golf streets alone at the $33, the Wells Fargo, the PGA Championship, even if you don't like the Charles Schwab, you get the RBC Canadian Open and the Memorial leading right up to the U.S. Open, deciding if you want to stick around or not. So I definitely think there's going to be a ton of good stuff that you guys can look at. So check it out. Code BDAY15. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Didn't get to the 120, and that's okay. We'll check it out for next week. For Hoopster, for myself, ToeTagginTambo, let's ship it.